Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Keith Shewchuk once again, and I'm very pleased to be sitting down tonight in Garson Lake with Blind George. His real name is George Janvier. I met him in the mid-'80s, probably in 1985, when I first came to Garson Lake. He was somebody that really encouraged me when I was younger to start singing. Because when I first came to Garson Lake, I knew how to play the guitar, just a few chords and stuff, but I never really sang. And he really encouraged me to start singing when I was younger. And I just thought I'd come out to Garson Lake and have a good old jam with him and reminisce about some good old days and talk about maybe how he got into music. And I almost forgot, but you know, there used to even be a band in Garson Lake, and I just wanted to talk to him about maybe some of those days, and we'll leave it at that. So George, thank you for doing this interview with me tonight, Timarsi Cho, and thank you for sitting down with me. If you could just start off by letting us know how old you are.
62.
You're 62 years old now, eh? That's awesome. And how old were you when you first started to get into music, and maybe who started you and how you started? Maybe you can tell us that story.
When I started when I was 14 years old, I think. Trumuk and taught me how, a few chords.
Who's that?
Tour Mugran.
Tour Grant.
Yeah, that's Paul Mugran's brother.
Okay.
He gave me a couple of chords, started, and then Ivan started singing. We played together. So at the time there was maybe around 78 or 79. We tried to make a band, eh?
Who was all in that Garson Lake band in 78, 79? Ivan Herman?
Ivan Herman and me, Kenneth.
His brother Kenneth Herman?
Yeah, and Wilfred.
Wilfred Totine.
Yeah.
Wilfred Janvier, right?
No, Pishy.
Or Piche, yeah. Sorry, I got the wrong last name. Totine.
Yeah.
Oh, so what did Kenneth play?
Yeah?
What did he play, the drums?
Kenneth played drum. And me, I play rhythm, Casey.
You mean Ivan?
Ivan.
Okay.
And Totine, they play...
The bass guitar? Okay. And how did you get your instruments, and how did you guys get started like that?
Oh, this boy from community, community boy. Turner Lake.
So there used to be instruments from a Turner Lake band or something, or?
Yeah, I community boy, Turner Lake instrument.
Okay. And that's how you guys played. How long did you guys play for in Garson, do you think?
Oh, how long? Maybe not even a year.
About a year? Just having fun,
yeah.
jamming and playing and stuff like that. So you've been singing a long time. How did you start singing? Who started you to get into singing?
Ivan.
Ivan.
Yeah.
So he was a big influence on you.
Yeah, he gave me a couple of chords, huh?
Yeah. So when you were younger, you weren't blind, were you? When you started going blind when you were older, or?
Older.
So has it been very difficult playing the guitar and learning when you were blind? Because when I first met you in '84, I was so amazed when I watched you sing, because I just didn't know how you were able to chord and sing, and it was so amazing for me. I still remember that, eh? You had an old guitar, an Anjo box guitar, I think it was called an Anjo, remember that?
Yeah.
And when a string would break, we'd run around for rabbit snares so we could fix the strings.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we always had a guitar, and when you're in Garson Lake growing up as a young person, it was such a pleasure to be able to come over and jam with you, and you really had a big influence on me when I was growing up. You know, tell everybody what you used to tell me when you were encouraging me to sing.
Keith, Shewchuk.
Yes, Keith Ching-a-chong, he used to say to me all the time, and he'd laugh, and
Yeah.
he'd really encourage me, and I used to kind of be shy, but he kind of took me out of my shell and encouraged me to sing in front of others, because I wasn't shy singing in front of him at first, and he heard me sing, and he said I had a good voice, and he encouraged me, and when others were around, he'd say that, Keith Ching-a-chong. You remember those days?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So nowadays, how often do you get to play now? Because you were telling me that you got arthritis
Yeah.
and you slowed down quite a bit. And
That's about 3 years now. They play guitar.
yeah. But you were a really big influence on a lot of people here in Garson Lake. You know, you mentioned Casey earlier. Casey also in Garson Lake, and he's a musician as well. Is there any other musicians that you could remember from back in the 70s that you might have looked up to, or somebody that maybe influenced you that you saw playing or heard playing? Was there any bands from Janvier, any bands from La Loche? Was there any,
I know.
what other bands were you listening to back in the 70s?
Oh, 70s, North Wind.
North Wind, okay.
Yeah,
Do you remember them?
yeah.
Is there any other bands you used to listen to back then? I'm trying to make you look back way back in the 70s there, but you know, it's kind of I'm trying to document history and trying to plug people's brain of what they could remember of the good old days of music, you know. So think back in the late 70s, what kind of bands that were around maybe, or musicians that you could remember that stood out to you?
Country music.
You really enjoyed country music?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What kind of singers were some people that you liked? Because I remember when I first came to Garson, you used to always listen to Edward Gamblin, Ernest Munias, because I really enjoyed listening to some of the music you used to always play on your cassette player. You had a really good ear for music back then, and I always remember that. Is there anything that you could remember that maybe stands out that you want to mention?
Yeah, I know Jeffrey too.
Jeffrey?
Yeah.
He comes and visits you quite often, doesn't he? Yes. He's also a musician from the Herman family, ain't that right?
Yeah, and Tony too.
That's nice. So, living out in Garson Lake these days, how are things out here for you?
Okay. Good.
You've always been out here in Garson Lake, and you're a big part of this community, and you've been a very big influence not only on me, but I see on Casey and a few others here from Garson Lake that were musicians. And I just wanted to mention that and document that, and let you know that you really were an influence on me getting started with singing, and you really encouraged me. So I'd like to say thank you for that. Merci, Cho.
Thank you.
And before we sign off, George, I wanted to say thank you for jamming that song with me earlier. I know you have arthritis, and you told me you hadn't played in a long time, but you still picked up the guitar and were willing to jam with me. So thank you very much. Mm-hmm. And the song we chose was the song that we both remember playing back in our good old days when we were younger. When I was younger, learning, and he was playing with me, we used to sing songs like Joanne, Ernest Muniaz, some Edward Gamblin, and some of those good old tunes we used to do. You remember those days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we jammed a song for you, which I'll post a little bit later on. So, but before we sign off there, George, I always like to ask these musicians that I'm interviewing if they have any words of wisdom or advice for any young musician that may be starting in the music business or maybe wanting to get into learning how to play an instrument or something. I know you're blind and you still play the guitar, and that's very, very encouraging to see. And I just want to know if you can give some sort of words of wisdom or advice to anybody out there. Well, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but you know, when I was young, you really encouraged me. So think about that. How would you encourage somebody out there?
Yeah, that'd be good, I guess. That'd be good. Young kids, young whatever. Yeah.
So you'd like to see young people get into music? Is that what you're
yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And I guess you could say that don't let anything get in your way. Wouldn't you say that? Because even though you couldn't see, you still continued to play. Why was that? Because you must have loved music or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and just before we sign off here, I just wanted to mention Ivan Herman. You said was an influence on you. He used to write songs too, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he used to play his own music, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you want to mention maybe one of the songs he wrote? I forget what it was called. Was it Hold Me Close?
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
Was there any other one that he might have written that I'm not aware of?
No.
You remember that one?
I know a couple of songs in the group, but I forgot it.
Yeah, I see. But like I said, thank you, George, for sitting down and letting me document this interview. I know I kind of put you on the spot here tonight, and but you were still willing to sit down with me, so I just wanted to say thank you. Would you like to say anything to anybody out there that may be watching this?
Yeah.
What would you like to say, George? Now is your opportunity to say whatever you want to say before we sign off. You could say thank you to everybody.
Yeah, thank you to everybody out there.
You're thinking hard, eh? I'm making him think a little bit too hard there. But you know, but I just want to say thank you. I know I kind of put you on the spot here tonight, and but like I said, thank you for sitting down and sharing some of that history of Garson Lake with us. Dear Marcy Choa.
Yeah. Merci.